I'd like to tell you a very revealing and ultimately really helpful story about one of my favorite Waves plugins, which I've talked a lot about, the Linear Multiband Compressor. When I really first started using it was on Mika's first album, which is called Life in Cartoon Motion. It wound up selling 6 million copies worldwide. It was a huge, I didn't know it was going to be a big record. And I've gotten, compliments from everyone from Mutt Lange to like Kevin Killen and, engineers and producers. I really have loved and admired and respected their work for years. And I spent a month mixing that record. I really wanted it to be as great as I could get it. And I will never forget, I had the mix kind of built, and it was Mika's song Grace Kelly, which wound up being his biggest song ever. And the mix sounded really good, it felt great. And then in the 11th and a half hour, I put the Linear Multiband plug-in across the entire mix. And I'm telling you, like within 3 seconds, Mika jumped up from that chair and he freaked out. And it hadn't really changed that much, but it was just a subtle balancing of, it's what that plug-in does, which I'll explain in greater detail. But he jumped up and he said, "Now it sounds like a record." What the Linear Multiband compressor does is it's separate compressors in one plug-in. The left hand, it's like just the super low frequency range, and that's it. So whatever you do to the compressor settings, if you do nothing, it doesn't do anything to the low end. Whatever you do will only affect that window of frequencies. And so it's kind of like super low, mids, upper high end, and then the real, like, there's a Waves preset called Multi-Electro Mastering that is what I almost always start with as a place to begin. And if I play with the master threshold amount, I'll take that setting, but then I'll turn the threshold all the way to 0 so it's not doing anything, and then slowly kind of pull it down until I see and hear things are getting compressed a little bit. And then I'll pull the threshold down even more to where it's doing too much, and it's too much of a good thing. And then I'll rein it back into where it just feels right. And it's usually not doing very much, but it just does the subtle kind of balancing of like, it makes it fluid and just makes it sound better. It makes me sound like a better mixer. I like to hear things sounding pretty mixy from a very early stage. I always want it to sound presented like a record, whatever that means to people. To have really like world-class sounding stuff that I can just call up, and within 20 seconds of opening, it's like we're there, and I could play it for anyone.